Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The other day I read a rather fascinating report about why the crypto market misprices XRP. Very obviously, XRP has some of the greatest utility and is one of the most adopted coins in the entire crypto space. And so why doesn't price sufficiently reflect that? And there are a number of reasons for that, and I want to run through, but it is nice to see that in an official report, there's broad recognition of the degree to which XRP is unquestionably, undeniably, functionally useful. And this goes back to my core investment thesis when it comes to crypto, which is that utility matters and will win the day. I've been saying that since I jumped into crypto 8 years ago. It was true then, and it's true now. There's a reason that XRP is one of only 3 coins in existence that has always been in the top 10 coins by market cap for its entire life. And that's true for XRP despite the SEC trying to take it out via that Ripple lawsuit. And so the only coins for which that's true, of course, is Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP. Those are the only 3 that have always been in the top 10 coins by market cap, despite the fact that there are tens of thousands of coins. There's no shortage of competition. And this is why I keep saying, it could not be more obvious that XRP is an early winner of the crypto space. So anyway, I just want to share some thoughts on this topic with you. It's kind of, I'm going to share with you some of the specifics about the report, but also I want to share a lot of my perspective on this, just my personal thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below as well. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And look, even News BTC is covering this. Look at this headline. XRP's price doesn't match its growing real-world use, study finds. Isn't that fantastic to see? And they're talking about perspective from Bayberry Capital. This is their website. This was just several days ago this was published. And they titled it exactly what you can see on the screen here, Why the Market Misprices XRP. And so the new study from Bayberry Capital argues that XRP is one of the most misunderstood assets in the digital asset space. And so their central claim is that the market continues to misprice XRP because traders treat it like a typical speculative altcoin rather than what it actually is, a piece of financial infrastructure built for settlement and liquidity. And so according to the analysis, most market participants only see a token and a chart, basically. They do not see the system, the architecture, or the structural purpose behind it. Now, I'm not convinced that's entirely true. I think if not for the fact that XRP is actually useful, there's no way it would have stayed in the top 10 coins by market cap for its entire freaking existence. So on that point, I respectfully disagree. It is true that most people are just speculating with it. That's true, including me. I'm just speculating with it. But I also think it's quite obvious that most people in crypto have no earthly understanding of how important and useful XRP actually is. And I think if everyone understood what you and I already know, the price of XRP would be way into double-digit territory. Like right now, it would already be there. But people don't know this. People don't know. And that's why I personally think it makes sense to recognize that the current price of XRP 100% does not match its real world utility. The rest of the world will just have to find out, once it's too late. And this is an asset class that's maturing. I'm sitting here as I'm recording this. XRP is $2.54. It's got a market cap of $152 billion. Does anybody out there really think, in our community, does anybody really think like XRP is not going to at some point be $1 trillion asset and then a multi-trillion-dollar asset? This is not me making a price prediction. I admit, I don't know where price is going, but does anybody think that's crazy? Because I sure as hell don't. This is a baby asset class worth $3.5 trillion. The entire asset class is worth that. And $2.1 trillion of that is just Bitcoin. So eventually this asset class is going to be worth $10 trillion and then tens of trillions of dollars, and one day over $100 trillion. We are super early. I think there's going to be multiple coins that have multi-trillion-dollar market caps. It just seems obvious to me that XRP it would be one of the ones that's more likely to get to that level because it's functionally useful. And it's been battle tested. It's been around for 13 plus years now. So, all that being said, the write-up by Bayberry is fascinating and insightful in many ways. They draw a strong comparison to the early internet era. And back then, the companies that built routers, switches, and networking infrastructure, well, they were ignored while flashy .com names attracted all the attention. And in their study, it argues that XRP sits in a similar position today. That's hard to disagree with. I mean, it's quiet, foundational infrastructure, which makes it easy for short-term traders to overlook, even though it is designed to move large volumes of value across networks rather than create viral price action. And not that it can't do that too. I like that there's speculation surrounding XRP. That's healthy. You want that. It's just that, again, when you go back to the utility side and the technical attributes XRP has, it's just not sufficiently appreciated. And, a major point in the analysis is that XRP was engineered as a neutral bridge asset meant to connect otherwise isolated financial systems. And I don't like that phrasing, so I'm going to nitpick a couple things, even though overall I think that it's a pretty thoughtful report. I just don't like the phrasing because although, yes, XRP was engineered in such a way that it's great as a bridge currency, we all know that, the creators didn't specifically have that use case in mind when they created it. So yeah, it's me being a little nitpicky perhaps, but that kind of role requires regulatory clarity and institutional adoption and the expansion of tokenized value rails, all of which it's now happening. Thankfully, it actually is now happening. Like a lot of the stuff that we in the community speculated might happen, going back even a decade ago, it's actually unfolding right now, including with real-world assets adoption and so on and so forth. But none of those developments produce, sudden spikes in price, and many of them happen behind the scenes, frankly. And so because of that, the market's short-term mindset causes it to miss the long-term utility that's being built. So the study also addresses the supply argument that critics often bring up. While XRP's total supply looks large, right? 100 billion, that's a large number, right? Bayberry emphasizes that the effective circulating supply is much smaller because a significant portion is locked in escrow or held in structured custody. So the relevant variable is the amount of liquid float relative to network demand. So keep in mind, most XRP, even if it's considered to be like quote unquote like in circulation, even if it's considered to be in circulation, it's almost none of it is available for sale at any given moment. You don't have to have your XRP listed for sale for it to be considered to be in circulation. For instance, my XRP, I got that in cold storage, and it's in circulation, but it's not for sale. I just have it, So if you're talking about like what's available on exchanges, how much XRP is there? Not much. It's a small percentage of the entire supply that exists. It's a very small percentage, actually. And that's why I keep saying, like, it doesn't take that much money flowing in to get these wild price levels, actually. That's why I don't find the analysts that make predictions for double-digit price action for XRP, that's one of the many reasons I find it totally reasonable to speculate on, right? So anyway, that's what I think on that. But and also regulatory clarity. That's another factor the market has not fully priced in. XRP now has legal status in the U.S. that most digital assets don't enjoy, and Bayberry points that out. That just regulation is a massive component of valuation in traditional finance, and so think about it. The news about the partnership between Ripple and MasterCard, for example, I'm sure most of you have heard about that by now. That absolutely would not have happened if the SEC had not sued Ripple. Think about that. So there's like a net plus because that happened. Now, I'm not happy that it ultimately happened, but I'm just saying, silver lining, right? Because had that not occurred, XRP would not have legal clarity, and we'd still be waiting for Congress to pass legislation that would provide blanket coverage for utility coins like XRP. We'd still be waiting for that today, in fact. But that disconnect though, it creates what the study calls one of the clearest asymmetries in the sector. And I absolutely agree with that perspective, And Bayberry also leans heavily into the coming expansion of tokenized value, which I've spent years talking about, and so I was very happy to see that. I mean, to me, it just seemed like this firm, broadly speaking, even though I was a little nitpicky on a couple things, they get it. And so I hadn't heard of this firm before, but I read this and I was like, hell yeah, absolutely. It's well written. And so, as more assets and currencies and real world instruments move on chain, liquidity will need to bridge across networks. And so the study positions XRP as a prime candidate, and seems, you and I know it seems obvious, definitely a prime candidate for this role because, its design and its consensus mechanism, thank God there's no proof of work, and long established infrastructure, it is absolutely tailored for exactly that kind of cross network settlement, and that's where things are heading. So when tokenized volumes scale way higher than they are now, demand for a neutral settlement asset becomes structural rather than speculative. There's always going to be a place for a neutral asset like XRP to bridge stuff. Okay, even without Ripple. So yeah, you better believe that people and businesses and institutions, they're going to notice that if they haven't yet. They're going to notice it, and price action will ultimately follow. And so, their conclusion is that XRP's price today reflects a market that sees hype, sees trends, sees headlines, but not the underlying system that XRP actually powers. And most people don't know that. Like, if you know this, you're you're part of a tiny percentage of humans on the planet that's aware. Almost no humans know this stuff. We are very fortunate to be this well informed. And Bayberry's final argument is that the asset remains mispriced because traders treat it as an event rather than an ecosystem. And so when the market begins to value the system instead of just the token, the repricing will be sharp. And so that's why you want to see broader adoption of all things XRP Ledger. That's good for XRP itself. And the study outlines a clear gap between XRP's real-world utility and its current market valuation. So, for long-term XRP supporters, this analysis, to me, it provides, I'd say, like a fundamentally optimistic interpretation of why the price has lagged. The entire asset class is maturing, and a mature environment is one in which XRP will thrive. And this is why I firmly believe that the best days for XRP holders are yet ahead. And so when you do get into that world where the asset class is more mature, well, what do you think is going to be most valuable? Coins that are actually fundamentally useful. That's where the money's going to flow. And XRP just oozes utility. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.